When the soul returns, introduction, there comes a time in many lives when the noise begins to feel heavier than the silence, not because life has gone wrong, but because something deeper is asking to be heard. This book was not written to teach you how to become someone else. It was written to sit beside you while you remember who you already are. There is nothing here you must believe, no doctrine you must accept, no version of yourself you must abandon. This is simply an invitation to pause, to breathe, and to listen inward. For much of our lives, we are taught how to function, how to perform, how to survive. We learn to shape ourselves to expectations, to timelines, to roles that earn approval as safety. In doing so, we often move away from a quieter truth within us, the part that existed before we learn it, who we were supposed to be. The soul does not disappear when this happens. It waits beneath the striving, beneath the stories, beneath the ache that sometimes rises without explanation. It waits patiently, without judgment, until the moment we are ready to return. This return does not arrive with certainty or clarity. It often begins as restlessness, as longing, as a sense that something essential has been misplaced, even when life looks full from the outside. These feelings are not signs that something is broken. They are signs that something true is stirring. The pages ahead are meant to be experienced slowly. They are not instructions, but reflections. Not answers, but doorways. Take what resonates. Leave what does not. Let the words move through you rather than asking them to convince you. If at any point you feel seen, softened, or quietly recognized, trust that. That recognition is not coming from these words, it is coming from within you. This is not the beginning of a journey towards something new, it is the beginning of remembering what has always been yours. Chapter 1. The moment something shifts, most awakenings do not begin with light, they begin with a pause. A moment when the familiar rhythm of your life no longer moves you forward in the same way. The days may continue as they always have: work, conversations, responsibilities, and inside, something slows. Something listens. Something notices that the old answers do not settle as comfortably as they once did. This moment often arrives quietly. It does not demand attention. It simply lingers. You may feel it as restlessness or fatigue that sleep does not touch. You may feel it as a longing you cannot explain, or a sense that life is happening around you rather than through you. These experiences are not signs of failure or weakness. They are signals, gentle and persistent, that a deeper part of you is beginning to wake. The soul rarely interrupts. It waits until the noise thins enough for it to be felt. For many, this shift comes after loss, change, or exhaustion. For others, it arrives in the midst of success, when everything appears intact yet something feels oddly absent. The soul does not measure readiness by circumstances. It responds to honesty. It responds when you can no longer pretend that fulfillment lives only in motion, achievement, or approval. When this moment comes, there may be fear. The mind wants clarity, direction, reassurance. It asks questions quickly, searching for certainty. But the soul does not offer immediate answers. It offers presence. It asks you to stay, to remain with the discomfort rather than rushing to resolve it. To notice what you feel without labeling it as wrong. To allow the quiet to exist without filling it. This is not a turning away from your life. It is a turning toward it more slowly, more truthfully, and with greater depth. The shift you are sensing is not an ending. It is an opening. Nothing is being taken from you in this moment. Nothing essential is being lost. Something within you is remembering how to speak. And if you listen not with urgency, but with patience, you may begin to recognize that voice. It has been with you longer than any role you have played, longer than any story you have told about who you are. This is where the return begins, not with certainty, not with answers, but with a willingness to stay present when something inside you quietly says, there is more. Chapter 2. The sacredness of forgetting. We often believe that forgetting ourselves is a mistake, that somewhere along the way, we failed to hold on to something essential. That if we had been stronger, wiser, or more aware, we would not have drifted so far from our inner truth. But forgetting is not a flaw in the human experience, it is part of it. We do not enter this world knowing how to be human. We learn by watching, by adapting, by responding to what keeps us safe and connected. We learn which parts of us are welcome and which are quietly set aside. Over time, we become skilled at surviving, at fitting in, at meeting expectations. In doing so, we do not abandon the soul, we protect ourselves. The soul understands this. It does not resent the masks you wore. It does not judge the choices you made to endure. Every adaptation you learned was shaped by love, fear, or necessity. And the soul stayed with you through all of it, even when you could no longer feel its presence. Forgetting, then, is not a betrayal. It is a passage. It allows you to experience separation, so that reunion can carry meaning. It allows you to know the difference between living from obligation and living from truth. Without forgetting, remembering would hold no depth. There may come a time when you look back and grieve the years you spent disconnected from yourself. Be gentle in this reflection. You were becoming who you needed to be in order to survive the life you were living. There is no shame in that. There is only understanding. The soul does not ask you to undo the past. It asks you to honor it. Every step you took, even the ones that led you away, brought you here. And here, something is softening. Something is loosening its grip. The forgetting is no longer required. When the soul begins to return, it does not erase who you were. It gathers you. It weaves your experiences into wisdom. It takes what you learned in absence and transforms it into presence. Forgetting was never the opposite of awakening. It was the doorway. Chapter 3, The Longing That Calls You Home. Before the soul is remembered, it is felt, not clearly, not logically, but deeply. It arrives as a longing that has no obvious cause. A quiet ache that follows you through otherwise ordinary days. You may notice it when everything is finally still, or when a moment of beauty unexpectedly moves you to tears. This longing is not asking for something new, it is calling you back to something familiar. The world often teaches us to explain our feelings quickly, to assign them reasons, solutions, distractions. But this longing resists explanation. It does not disappear when life improves. It does not fade when you accomplish more. It remains steady, patient, and persistent. This is the soul remembering itself through you. Longing is often misunderstood as dissatisfaction. But dissatisfaction points outward, while longing points inward. It is not about wanting more, it is about wanting true. It is the quiet recognition that you are meant to live from a deeper place than habit or momentum. You may feel drawn to silence, to nature, to music, art, or words that feel strangely familiar, to moments of stillness that soften you instead of unsettling you. These are not escapes. They are invitations. The soul does not demand attention, it creates resonance. When something aligns with it, you feel a subtle ease and a sense of being closer to yourself. This is how the soul speaks. Not in commands, but in recognition. At times, the longing may feel uncomfortable. It may stir grief for something you cannot name. It may bring awareness to ways you have been living on the surface. Let this discomfort be what it is, not a problem, but a guide. The soul never calls you home abruptly. It trusts your timing. It trusts your strength. It trusts that when you are ready, you will follow the feeling rather than silence it. Longing is not emptiness, it is remembrance beginning to move, and if you listen closely, without rushing, without judgment, you may notice that what you have been searching for has been waiting within you all along. Chapter 4, The Sacred Unraveling. When the soul begins to return, it rarely rides gently, not because it is harsh, but because truth loosens what no longer fits. This stage often feels like unraveling. What once felt certain may begin to feel thin or incomplete. Old roles may lose their meaning. Relationships, routines, or beliefs that once anchored you may suddenly feel misaligned. This can be confusing, even frightening, especially when nothing outward appears wrong. But the soul does not dismantle without purpose. Unraveling is not destruction. It is release. You are not losing yourself, you are shedding what you needed once, but no longer require. The structures that once kept you safe may now feel restrictive because you are no longer the same person who built them. It is natural to resist this process. The mind seeks stability and familiarity. It wants to preserve what has worked before. But the soul moves forward by loosening, not clinging. It trusts that what is true will remain, and what is false will fall away without force. During this time, you may feel vulnerable, exposed, unsure of who you are becoming. You may grieve parts of yourself that tried so hard to hold everything together. Honor them. They carried you through seasons that required strength over softness. The unraveling asks for patience, not answers, not immediate clarity, just presence. Allow yourself to not know. Allow space for confusion. Allow the ground to feel unstable while something deeper rearranges beneath you. What is forming now cannot be rushed, it must be felt into shape. The soul does not rush its own return. It trusts that what is loosening was never meant to be permanent. And it knows that beyond this unraveling is a deeper coherence, one that does not rely on effort, control, or fear. This is not the falling apart of your life, it is the falling away of what no longer belongs. And in the quiet space that follows, something truer begins to breathe. Chapter 5. Meeting yourself without armor. After the unraveling, there is often a pause, not the heavy pause of uncertainty, but a quieter one where the nose has thinned and the effort has eased. In this space, you may begin to sense yourself more clearly, without the familiar layers of protection you once relied on. This meeting can feel unfamiliar, without the armor of roles, explanations, or expectations. You may wonder who you are meant to be now. There may be tenderness here, a rawness that feels both exposed and honest. This is not weakness. This is what it feels like to be present with yourself. For much of life, armor is necessary. It helps us move through the world without being overwhelmed. But armor also limits touch. It dulls sensation. When the soul returns, it invites you to lay some of it down, not all at once, and not forever, but enough to feel again. Meeting yourself without armor means allowing your experience to be exactly what it is. It means letting emotions rise without immediately explaining them away. It means noticing your needs without judging them as too much or not enough. It means offering yourself the same patience you so easily extend to others. This is where gentleness becomes a form of strength. You may notice how long you have been holding tension in your body, how often you brace for impact even in moments of safety. As awareness softens these habits, breath returns to places that have been tight for years. The soul does not ask you to become fearless. It asks you to become honest. Honest about what hurts, honest about what you want, honest about what no longer feels true. In this honesty, something subtle shifts. You begin to trust yourself not because you have all the answers, but because you are finally listening. Meeting yourself without armor is not a destination, it is a practice, and each time you choose presence over protection, you step closer to the quiet truth that you are already enough, just as you are, right here, breathing. Chapter 6. Learning the language of the soul. The soul does not speak in words, it speaks in sensations, in subtle knowing, in the quiet pull toward what feels true. Its language is not loud or urgent. It does not argue or persuade. It simply resonates. Learning this language requires slowing down. The mind is quick. It categorizes, analyzes, anticipates. It wants clarity and certainty. The soul moves differently. It speaks through the body's response, through the sense of ease or contraction that arises before thought has time to interfere. You may notice it as a gentle expansion in the chest, a softening of breath, a feeling of alignment that needs no explanation. These signals are easy to overlook, especially in a world that rewards speed and decisiveness. But the soul is patient. It repeats itself quietly until you are ready to notice. At first, the voice of the soul may feel unfamiliar or unreliable. You may doubt it, question it, or confuse it with fear or desire. This is natural. Discernment grows through attention, not perfection. The soul does not push you into action. It invites you into awareness. When something is aligned, there is often a sense of groundedness even if the choice is difficult. When something is misaligned, there may be tension, restlessness, or a subtle sense of disconnection. These responses are not commands, they are information. Listening to the soul means allowing this information to matter. It means pausing before decisions, checking in rather than pushing through, letting your inner experience have weight alongside logic and expectation. Over time, trust forms, not because the soul's guidance is always comfortable, but because it is consistently honest. It does not promise ease. It offers integrity. As you become fluent in this language, life begins to feel less like a series of reactions and more like a conversation. You are no longer forcing your way forward, you are responding. The soul has always been speaking. Now, you are learning how to listen. Chapter 7. Living from the inside out. When the soul becomes part of your daily awareness, life does not suddenly become simpler, it becomes truer. Living from the inside out means that your choices begin to rise from alignment rather than obligation. You may still do the same things, speak to the same people, walk the same paths, but something within you is now leading. This shift is subtle at first. You pause before agreeing. You notice when something feels heavy instead of right. You choose honesty over harmony, even when it feels uncomfortable. These are not dramatic changes. They are quiet acts of self-respect. Living this way may surprise others. Some may not recognize the version of you that no longer overextends or explains. You may feel the urge to justify your boundaries, to soften your truth so it will be easier to receive. But the soul does not require permission to be authentic. It requires courage. Courage to disappoint, courage to change direction, courage to trust your inner knowing over external approval. This is not a rejection of the world. It is a fuller participation in it. When you live from the inside out, you bring coherence into your relationships, your work, and your presence. You are no longer divided between who you are and who you present. There will be moments when old patterns call you back. When fear suggests it would be easier to return to what is familiar. When living from alignment feels costly. In these moments, return to the body. Return to breath. Ask not what is safest but what is most honest. The soul does not promise comfort, it promises wholeness. And wholeness carries a quiet strength. A steadiness that does not depend on circumstances. A sense of belonging that arises from within rather than being sought outside. Living from the inside out is not about perfection, it is about congruence, and with each choice made in alignment, you build a life that feels less like a performance and more like home. Chapter 8. The Holiness of Ordinary Days. The soul does not live only in moments of clarity or insight. It lives in the ordinary, in the quiet repetition of mornings, in the small decisions no one witnesses, in the way you move through your day when there is nothing to prove. There is a belief that spiritual living must feel elevated or profound. But the soul is not impressed by intensity. It is nourished by presence. It asks not for transcendence, but for attention. When the soul has returned, you may find yourself slowing in simple moments, feeling the weight of a cup in your hands, listening more fully when someone speaks, allowing silence without reaching to fill it. These are not insignificant shifts. They are signs that you are inhabiting your life rather than rushing through it. Ordinary days become sacred not because they change but because you do. You begin to notice how often you rush yourself, how quickly you move away from rest, from stillness, from what is simple and sufficient. The soul invites a different rhythm, one that honors cycles of effort and ease, movement and pause. Rest, in this way, becomes an act of trust. Trust that you are worthy even when you are not producing. Trust that presence has value beyond outcome. Trust that being is not something you must earn. This does not mean disengaging from the world. It means meeting it without urgency. Letting moments be complete as they are, without asking them to become something else. The soul finds holiness in washing dishes, in walking without a destination, in breathing without intention. These small acts of presence weave the spiritual into the fabric of daily life. There is nothing you need to add to this moment to make it meaningful. The soul is already here, and in the quiet devotion of ordinary days, you learn that awakening is not a peak experience, it is a way of living. Chapter 9. When you forget again, even after the soul has returned, forgetting can happen. Life will grow loud. Responsibilities will demand your attention. Fear and old patterns will creep back in, and suddenly, the presence you felt so clearly may seem distant. You may feel lost, impatient, or even guilty for straying from what you once knew. This is not failure. The soul does not abandon you when you forget. It waits, patiently, quietly. Just as it did the first time, it allows the mind and the world to play their roles, knowing that remembering is a process, not a single moment of awakening. Each forgetting is part of the rhythm of life. Every return, every lapse, teaches you something new about your resilience, your discernment, and your capacity to witness yourself with compassion. The soul is not in the forgetting, it is in the remembering, over and over, until remembering becomes natural. When you feel disconnected, you do not need to chase it. Pause. Breathe. Notice. Trust that the guidance you once knew is still within you. Longing, intuition, ease, they are still there, quietly waiting for attention. This cycle is not a setback. It is practice. With each return, the soul's voice grows clearer. Each lapse becomes shorter. Each remembering comes with more gentleness. You begin to see that awakening is not linear, not permanent, not a destination. It is a conversation, a relationship with yourself that deepens over time. Do not fear forgetting. Do not resist it. The soul is eternal. It is patient. And it always waits for you to come home again. Chapter 10. The home that was always yours. In the end, the return of the soul is quiet. It does not arrive in fireworks or dramatic revelations. It arrives in stillness. In a moment when you notice that you are no longer reaching outside yourself for belonging, approval, or validation. You are simply here fully, honestly, without pretense. This is home. The journey was never about finding something new. It was about remembering what has always been within you. The longing, the restlessness, the unraveling, all of it led you to this place of presence. And now, you can rest into it. You can feel the alignment between who you are and who you have always been. Home is not perfection. It is coherence. It is trust in your own inner guidance. It is peace with the rhythms of life, with the ebb and flow of remembering and forgetting, with the quiet knowing that you are enough as you are. You may still walk through challenges, still face uncertainty, still encounter moments of fear. But now, you move through them differently. You move through them from the inside out, with a steadiness that is born not from control, but from connection. The soul was never lost. It simply waited through years of wandering, through seasons of forgetting, through moments of doubt for you to be ready to meet it again. And now, you have. This is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning of living fully, consciously, and tenderly in alignment with the truth that has always been yours. You are home. You have always been home, and in this knowing, the soul rests quiet, patient, eternal, and so do you. Conclusion. Walking with the soul. The journey of the soul is never truly finished. Even now, after remembering, after returning, the path continues. Life will always offer lessons, challenges, and moments of forgetting. And yet, the difference now is that you know the voice within the quiet, patient presence that has always been waiting. The soul does not ask you to be perfect. It does not demand achievement or constant striving. It asks only that you notice, that you pause, that you listen, that you bring awareness and tenderness to each ordinary day, and honor the simple truth that you are enough. As you move forward, remember that each choice, each breath, each quiet moment of reflection is sacred. There is no smallness in presence, no insignificance in the act of returning to yourself again and again. The ordinary becomes holy when you walk with awareness, when you allow your heart and your intuition to guide your steps. The soul is not a destination, it is a companion. It is the thread that weaves through your days, through your memories, through your breath. When you live in harmony with it, life becomes less about struggle and more about alignment, less about seeking and more about being. You do not have to chase awakening, because it has always been inside you. You only need to return again and again with patience, courage, and compassion. Walk gently, listen closely, and allow the soul to lead. In its quiet presence, you are never lost. You are always home.